This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Stadiums across Africa, like those around the world, have fallen silent as the global coronavirus pandemic continues to ground sporting activity. On tonight's Sports Scene, we highlight how some of the continent's biggest sporting cathedrals are faring during the COVID-19 lockdown. Hello and welcome to your home of African sports news, views and interviews. This is Sports Scene here on CGTN. I'm Mahia Mutua. Great to have you joining us once again. Let's check out what else is coming out this week. COVID-19 pandemic grounds stadium renovations in Zimbabwe. And Kenya's #1 goalkeeper Patrick Matasi keeping himself in shape at home in Ethiopia. Welcome to the program. Now, Egyptian sports complexes are now in the second month of a complete shutdown, with no indication that sports will resume anytime soon. Accordingly, these complexes have been deprived of all forms of revenue and at the same time cannot stop maintaining their facilities. Here is CGTN's Adel El Mahroui with more.
Welcome to Al Maadi Olympic Center. After Cairo International Stadium, this is the biggest public sports facility in Egypt. It's been built to primarily serve national teams, but it's been also the home for citizens of all ages to practice their favorite sports. Today, it's a haunted mansion, thanks to COVID-19.
From professional athletes to schools, individuals, universities, everyone is allowed to use our sports facilities and hotel services. All of that has completely stopped. Of course, it's part of the COVID-19 social distancing measures. Therefore, all our revenue is frozen.
There are no visitors, but work here cannot stop. If not routinely cleaned, greased or irrigated, the fields and equipment of this multi-million-dollar facility could get permanently damaged. So the management are still spending money as if it's a busy season.
The facilities has ongoing financial commitments. We have salaries and maintenance fees for contracted companies. We have investment certificates which revenues have so far been covering us. Thank God we have not yet cancelled all of them and started spending from our savings.
The sports ministry and the organizations owned hundreds of thousands of dollars, but under the pandemic, no one can afford to pay. Hamouda is lucky to have so far managed, but if the lockdown lasts longer, he'll face a financial crisis. Hopefully soon they can see this place as it was before, filled with action and inspiration.
All our facilities are prepared for immediate operation. We have put plans to make all our hotel rooms serve single individuals as an initial preventive measure. We have also trained our staff in the use of personal preventive equipment. We are planning to install disinfectant gates so all players and staff get sprayed upon entry and exit.
This place has sheltered African champions in 17 different sports. It's also been the headquarters for Egyptian Olympic medalists.
The sound of athletes pushing themselves harder to increase their stamina and fitness has been always inspiring in this place. Seeing it deserted is heartbreaking, and everyone working here are waiting anxiously for the resumption of sports in Egypt. Adel El Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Well, training facility owners have also borne the brunt of the coronavirus pandemic alongside athletes and coaches. In Tanzania, the Oyster Bay Pitch is a youth football training facility located in the capital, Dar es Salaam. It helps children unlock their athletic potential, but since the pandemic, things have changed. CGTN's Daniel Kijo has more.
Oyster Bay Soccer Pitch is a breeding ground for youth football talent. This state-of-the-art facility offers coaching programs that could create Africa's next soccer superstar. Since COVID-19 hit Tanzania 2 months ago, the government decided to ban all sports, so those dreams will have to wait. Linda Nkulu is a coach there who says the closure of the center has affected her livelihood.
I have to teach classes to get paid, and now there are no classes. There are no sports, no league, nothing at all, so I just stay at home. I used to live alone, but now I have to move back in with my parents as I have no money.
Social distancing brought in to limit the spread of COVID-19 has had a significant effect on sports. With no one coming to the center, Isaac Thomas says he isn't earning like he used to.
We used to make money from parking fees and washing cars, but now we don't have that income anymore due to Corona.
The center's manager says hundreds of dollars are lost each week a facility is closed. He fears that players would get rusty as well as miss out on the social value of playing football.
They used to come here, they used to just, play, have fun, enjoy themselves, including the families, the friends.
The government has stopped all sports leagues, closed schools, and cancelled public gatherings, and has asked everyone to start wearing masks. In these difficult times, the ability of football to bring people together is missed more than ever. The center's management says despite being in a tight spot, COVID-19 has not killed their passion to expand football in Tanzania, because just like in football, they're facing it as a team. Daniel Kijo, CGTN, Dar es Salaam.
Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has seen the suspension of sporting activity worldwide, leaving most sporting facilities in disuse and losing vital income to sustain their extensive running costs in order to be ready for sporting action. One such venue is the venue of one of Africa's biggest derbies, which has hosted some of the biggest events in sport. CGTN CS Duplessis has more.
The FNB Stadium, or Soccer City as it's affectionately known, is an iconic stadium that has hosted 2 Africa Cup of Nations finals and the continent's first ever FIFA World Cup final. It's a symbol of hope to the Rainbow Nation, a place where sports fans can marvel in sporting spectacles. But for now, the 90,000-seater stadium is empty, devoid of action, and it looks set to be that way for the foreseeable future.
Obviously, no events scheduled. Currently, we're in a lockdown, a stadium lockdown, soft lockdown status as well. We're only managing the necessary maintenance and essential maintenance. All staff on temporary layoff. So it's a huge impact and an effect on the business and the events industry as such.
With only a small amount of income trickling in from a handful of commercial deals, it is near impossible to calculate the financial impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. But despite the devastating effect, Krobla says they're prepared to help in the fight in any way they can.
We did offer the stadium as a site for quarantine or field hospital. We've provided the government with information on the stadium. And as we said here, we're ready, I think as responsible citizens, we're ready if government calls on us, we're ready to assist, to either make the stadium available as a quarantine facility or as a hospital.
The stadium is venue for the world-famous Soweto derby and attracts massive crowds for the much-anticipated fixture. But with the South African Football Association and Premier Soccer League exploring restarting the season with matches behind closed doors, the stadium management CEO is confident that this can be done to get football up and running again.
I think it is possible as a first phase to get back to some sort of normality. I see the Bundesliga, they've issued a directive where they start behind closed doors and then allow limited amount of spectators in different phases. It's definitely possible. Operationally, you just need to tweak and your operational plans, but it's definitely possible.
There's no doubt it is going to take time before sport gets back to some sort of normality. But the definition of normality is certain to change. It also will see a lot of challenges going forward. But football and its fans will return. Sport, after all, is a unifier of people, a feel-good factor, and therefore only time will tell when we witness the calabash in all of its glory once again. CS Duplessis, CGTN, Johannesburg.
Our journey through African stadiums that have fallen silent during the COVID-19 lockdown now takes us to Uganda, where the management of the crisis is giving hope that sports facilities there may be put to use sooner. CGTN's Leon Senyange now reports.
Then and now, Mandela National Stadium, Uganda's biggest sports facility.
We're going to host the qualifiers for AFCON 2021, the national team, and also the league, the local league, of course, came to a halt because we also host the league matches twice in a week. So in effect, it means that once the activities or the events or the competitions are halted, it means we also have no business.
Thousands of fans often gather here for football matches. Athletics competition also pulls crowds. But with no sports activities now, it is a grim time for the sports facility.
We anticipate that it will hit us hard. We know for the period, for the month of March, April is also now gone. We don't know about May. So yes, it has hit us. That means we won't be earning monies to pay our staff. We won't be earning money to maintain the facility.
The Uganda government is expected to ease lockdown restrictions within days. That could open space for some sports activities to resume. Concerns remain.
Safety is very critical because much as we look out for fans who are rowdy, throwing stones, being abusive, but even the medical aspect can be a threat to the game. It can lead to death of fans, it can lead to death of players, it can lead to death of various stakeholders around sport.
Local federations are considering organizing competitions without funds. It's a decision many may have to weigh in on. The facility managers are optimistic of a post-coronavirus recovery. There will, however, be a lot of protection measures to put in place. It is a question of how well that will be managed. Leon Senyange, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Now for more on that story, I'm pleased to be joined by our correspondent Leon Senyange, who joins us live via Skype from Kampala, Uganda, for more on this topic. Leon, great to have you joining us. Good to see you staying safe from the comfort of your home. Now, stadiums have, of course, fallen silent across the continent. How has this affected fans that normally head to sporting facilities in their hundreds to take in the action, especially those in Uganda?
Well, it's quite a difficult time. No fan would definitely at this point in time want to be at a facility with thousands of other fans watching a particular game. It's been a trend across the world, not just in Uganda alone, where at this point in time of, if anything, of the sporting calendar, the soccer season was just about to end. The rugby season was beginning, so you'd quite find a couple of fans there. The volleyball season was also in preparation to start. The athletics championship and calendar was running with the national trials and several other competitions going on. So these, of course, put quite a number of fans in one particular area. And like we've quite known that it's in these particular crowds that are quite susceptible to any kind of infection and that spread of the coronavirus, so COVID-19. So it's been a difficult time for the fans, but there's no two ways out of this. You either stay home and stay safe, and there's definitely no option for this particular situation. But of course, many are very optimistic that with the tide and the way things are moving, sooner or later they could be back to the stadium. But of course, with lots of precaution being taken to ensure that they all remain safe.
Now, Leon, as mentioned, easing the COVID-19 lockdown is not in immediate sight. What alternatives, if any, do owners and managers of these sporting facilities have to generate some revenue?
Well, like I spoke earlier to the manager of the Mandela National Stadium here, it's one of the biggest, actually the biggest facility we have in Uganda, sits about 44,000 people. So definitely with any given numbers, they've suffered a very, very big loss in terms of revenue collection at this point in time. And for the last couple of weeks, starting from March, way through April and now, and also the potential that may even go much longer. But there's been some kind of hope for them that even when there's not been any sporting activities, they've been able to hold crusades, religious crusades. They've been able to regenerate some money out of those. Musical concerts as well have put some money in their bag. So, but of course, we all know that all sorts of activities that have thousands of people have been put to a stop. It's definitely going to be a tough time for them to try and regenerate any sorts of revenues. It will be a steady, gradual process for them, and just like any other business, they've suffered a hit. But the options still remain that once the sporting activities resume, yes, people will have to pay quite an amount of money to use the facilities. In case musical concerts also resume, the religious crusades also resume, there will be quite an amount of money coming through. And these look like very much the other options these facilities have to use to be able to generate some revenue going forward.
And finally, very briefly, Leon, as we're almost out of time, as an experienced correspondent and sports journalist yourself, what do you miss most from the stadiums during this period?
Well, it's the camaraderie around any sporting activity. The derby matches, those create some kind of adrenaline within just the fans and even us as the reporters as we cover those particular games. There are those heated moments, the victories, the losses. Those are some of the things that we definitely miss from the crowds and from the stadium and from the games and the sporting activities. But we still have high hopes that when all this is done and comes to an end, life will get back to normal, and everybody will be able to get back to the stadium, support the team that they want to see winning, they support their teams, and yes, be back into the victorious mode.
Indeed, the sooner the better. Thank you very much for that. That was Leon Senyange, our correspondent, joining us live there from Kampala. Well, it's time for us to take a short break. Here's what's coming up. COVID-19 pandemic grounds stadium renovations in Zimbabwe.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself. If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice.
Let's take you to Zimbabwe now, where the coronavirus pandemic has disrupted works to upgrade football stadiums, which had been barred from hosting international matches by the Confederation of African Football. Here is CGTN's Farai Mwakutuya with that story.
Authorities were racing against time to renovate football stadiums to CAF standards before June 15th, so that the national team would not have to play on foreign soil. While COVID-19 has deferred Continental and World Cup qualifiers indefinitely, it's also ground upgrades to a halt.
There are caretakers there right now who are doing just the minimum maintenance. But in terms of the grant works that we had planned, we are not able to meet the deadlines.
But critics say the pandemic is helping cover up poor preparations.
I see a window of opportunity for excuses that just presented itself, for people that were not so sincere about what they wanted to do about this whole renovation of stadiums. I would have thought that, during this corona, they could have actually speeded it up, because essential services are working. People are working in essential services, because these stadiums are not for CAF. We're acting as if we are building these stadiums for CAF. We're not building these stadiums for CAF, we're building these stadiums for ourselves.
When things eventually get back to normal, it may be difficult to resume the construction works whose budgets are likely to have gone up. With everything at a standstill, authorities are counting the immediate costs. It doesn't look like there'll be any football action taking place here anytime soon. Now that's a loss to fans who live for the thrill of live football. but it's an even bigger financial loss to the venue proprietor and other stakeholders.
During a match day, there are a lot of people that are employed. The ball boys, the vendors, the cashiers, the policemen whom we hire, the referees, the match officials. So there's lots of employment. A lot of people are not getting what they should be getting in terms of maybe salaries or remuneration. Yeah.
That's why everyone who loves the beautiful game here can't wait for its return. Until then, and despite warnings to stay at home, some have resorted to playing themselves in the shadows of the terraces from where they normally watch. Mahia, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Well, let's cross over to West Africa now, where sprinter Makura Keita is one of the athletes set to represent Guinea at the Tokyo Olympics. And with the postponement of the event to next year, Makura's coach has come up with a training plan to help her keep fit even as she maintains social distancing. Makura has represented her country at several international competitions, including the ECOWAS Games, the African Games in Congo-Brazzaville, and the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, where she finished 4th in the women's 100 meters final. She now looks forward to Tokyo, where her dream is to medal for Guinea.
All training places are closed at the moment. In the beginning, I was doing my training sessions in an empty space, but I quickly understood that I was taking risks because it was used by several other people. Finally, I chose this hill for my exercises. With the new measures, my coach gives me instructions over the phone, and I exercise on my own every week following my coach's instructions. I do some muscle strengthening and a little sprint running.
When she has to go out, I ask her about the behavior she would adopt in this time of pandemic, not greeting people, not staying in a crowded environment, and washing her hands regularly. I admire her courage and determination. We're very proud of her, and I believe she will do everything she can to bring us a medal one day.
Now, South African rugby player Zinhle Ndawonde dreams of representing the Rainbow Nation at the 2021 World Cup. But while the national lockdown remains in full effect, the firefighter is focused on her role at the King Shaka International Airport and staying fit to be ready when the season resumes. CGTN CS Du Plessis has more.
There appears to be no stopping Springbok rugby player Zinhle Ndawonde. A formidable force on and off the field, this firefighter is on call at Durban's King Shaka International Airport 12 hours a day, several days a week. This demanding schedule makes it tough to maintain her strict diet and training program.
I make sure that I eat the right nutrition. I think eating the right nutrition at this stage is very vital, because if you eat the wrong stuff and you're not getting enough access to gym and the field, then it's going to become a problem. So I eat the right nutrition. I make sure that I gym twice a day, one session being cardio and the other session being strength and conditioning.
The Fleet-Footed Centre says she is finding the lockdown frustrating as traditional training sessions have been put on hold and opportunities to test fitness levels and work on her skills are extremely limited. But she's finding inventive ways to stay fit.
At this time, we're not getting that much space, which becomes a problem. But on the other hand, as well, we are shocking our bodies and giving our bodies a different feel of what we have been doing. But as we move towards the World Cup, we are focusing on conditioning as well as fitness. So it really is frustrating that we can't be on the field and run around in the ball and actually get to run and see how our conditioning and fitness levels are.
The 30-year-old, who has represented South African 7s and 15s codes, is honoured to be a firefighter and strives to serve her country on and off the field.
I'm very proud that I am working during this time, simply because I love what I do, and I made a pledge that I'll always work under any circumstances for my country.
At this stage, the 2021 Women's Rugby World Cup is still very much on. Whether or not the COVID-19 pandemic affects the tournament remains to be seen. But one thing is for sure, Zinhle Ndawonde is not letting the situation get her down and is doing everything possible to be fit, conditioned and mentally strong for when the biggest tournament of her life kicks off next year. CS Du Plessis, CGTN, Johannesburg.
And still to come. Kenya's #1 goalkeeper Patrick Matasi keeping himself in shape at home in Ethiopia. Now, the continued rise of coronavirus cases in Africa continues to affect sporting activities, with Ethiopia being the latest to extend its sports lockdown. Kenya's #1 goalkeeper Patrick Matasi, who plies his trade with Addis Giants St. George, continues to keep himself in shape at home after the Ethiopian Football League was postponed to October. CGTN's Coletta Wanjohi now reports.
COVID-19 has ended regular training for many footballers, so Patrick Matasi has created his own gym. Some items he bought from the sports shop and others he improvised. Matasi says individual training can be tough and it takes strong will for one to maintain a daily routine. For 6 days a week, he does about 2 hours of different exercises daily.
Before the virus came, we usually train every day in the morning. For us, we usually train for like 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes in the morning. And then in the evening, I do some gym, So my body had used to training every day. So if I say I just want to sit there and not training, then it means my muscles will be a bit tight and I'll not be ready to go, because I'll rest, sleep, but what next? My muscles will be used to it. When I start training, then I'll be starting from zero.
The Ethiopian League had its last games in March before the session was put on hold because of COVID-19. Matasi says he follows other athletes on social media to get inspiration.
If you are a sportsman, sportswoman, don't wait for the coach. Don't wait for the coach to come and give you what to do. Some teams are capable of giving their players schedule to do every day. You see, like there is a Man City, you see PSG. Every time they give their players a schedule so that they can follow it, train, and then you send the video to the team physio or fitness coach of the team. But for us, our team, we are not yet there, but soon we shall be there. So it's just a matter of self-discipline.
Back home in Kenya, he is still hailed for his performance for Kenya's national team Harambee Stars in the African Cup of Nations in 2019. Despite conceding 7 goals in the tournament, Matasi made a huge number of saves in all Kenya's games, especially against Senegal.
Every time I always tell my fans, my family, my fellow citizens in Kenya, now I'm in Ethiopia, these are my fellow families. What I normally tell them is that when we try to follow the government precautions because of this virus, soon it will end and they will see us again in the field playing. Or they will see us doing what they love, seeing. Like for me, I'm a goalkeeper. They will see me making saves in the field. So if there are directions or measures that have been given by the government, let's just follow those directions and precautions.
Kenya's national team Harambee Stars has lined up Matasi for the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualification matches versus Egypt and Togo. So, as he trains to ensure he keeps his Ethiopian team ahead in the league, he is also warming up for his country. Coletta Wanjohi, CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
And that's all we have for you on this week's edition of Sports Scene. Thanks for watching. Do remember you can get in touch with the program by sending your feedback to those contacts on your screen and follow us on our digital media platforms. Once again, thanks for watching. I'm Mahia Mutua.